Breaking news tonight. A massive economic gamble from President Donald Trump is sending shockwaves across America and beyond. In a move being described as one of the most extreme trade policies in U.S. history, Trump has doubled down on his tariffs, pitching them as a golden solution to America's financial woes. With promises of sweeping tax cuts and even the elimination of income taxes for millions, the president says tariffs will fund prosperity and rebuild industry. But experts say the math doesn't just fail to add up. It doesn't even come close. As day 100 of Trump's second term approaches, frustration is building in homes, farms, factories, and financial markets. The White House, emboldened by a slim majority in Congress, is moving forward with its aggressive tax agenda. Trump now proposes eliminating federal income taxes for those earning under $200,000 and claims the revenue lost will be recovered through tariffs on imported goods. This plan, bold in concept and staggering in scope, comes at a time when the American consumer is already feeling the sting of inflation, market instability, and growing uncertainty about what lies ahead. The president's supporters tout this as a visionary shift, claiming tariffs will not only punish foreign competitors, but provide enough money to rewrite the tax code. Trump's statement that Americans might never pay income tax again has gone viral. He insists it's not only possible, it's necessary. The pitch is simple. America stops taxing its citizens and instead taxes the goods it imports from abroad. But simplicity does not make a plan solid. According to current government revenue data, federal income tax accounts for over $3 trillion annually. For tariffs to replace that revenue, economists calculate the United States would need to raise import taxes to levels never before seen, more than 4 times their current rates. Products would become dramatically more expensive. Sneaker prices could double. Car prices could skyrocket. Everyday items from food to medicine would face steep price increases. The result, economists say, would not be a tax-free paradise, but a consumer crisis. And that's not the only concern. Experts warn that extreme tariffs would destroy demand. As prices climb, shoppers back away. When that happens, the very revenue Trump hopes to raise through import taxes would evaporate. Demand collapses, tariff income falls, the deficit grows. Erica York, a senior economist at the Tax Foundation, says it's not just unrealistic, it's mathematically impossible. Even if tariffs were raised to 100%, she says, they would fall far short of covering the loss from eliminating income taxes for middle and lower income Americans. To come close, tariffs would need to approach 200%, an economic shockwave that would cripple consumption and kill jobs. Yet despite these warnings, the administration remains defiant. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent claims the market's not telling the real story. He insists Americans are still spending. But surveys show that consumers are worried. They're holding on to cash, cutting back on travel and big purchases, and bracing for another financial downturn. Even where there is spending, in restaurants, hotels, and entertainment, the pattern is being driven less by confidence and more by FOMO, a fear of missing out in uncertain times. Behind the scenes, workers are nervous. Restaurant owners say job applications are down. Farm employers report that fewer workers are willing to show up. Some sectors are seeing labor shortages not because people are unwilling to work, but because they're uncertain about what tomorrow holds. Fear, not laziness, is taking its toll. The ripple effects don't stop at the border. America's global partners are watching, waiting, and in some cases, quietly backing away. As Trump turns up the pressure on China, talks with other nations have stalled. Not a single trade deal has been formally signed during his renewed term. The 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs has yielded no progress. At a moment when America hoped to solidify its role as a global economic leader, its approach has made allies uneasy and competitors bolder. Still, the president insists victory is near. Speaking at a rally, he declared, "We're taking in a tremendous amount of money. Jobs are coming back, factories are returning, and we're going to cut taxes for the American people. All of them, soon." But many Americans don't recognize this version of economic reality. In towns across the Midwest, car dealerships are raising prices faster than buyers can keep up. A vehicle that cost $40,000 6 months ago is now $55,000 if it's even available. Egg prices, once symbolic of inflation, are now symbols of frustration. Families ask how they'll stretch their income when income is shrinking. The administration insists that this will all be offset by the proposed tax cut, but even that promise has drawn skepticism. Economists argue that cutting taxes while gutting trade relationships is a recipe for long-term instability, not prosperity. What the administration calls an aggressive America First economic plan, critics call reckless brinkmanship. And while the political optics of attacking global supply chains may appeal to nationalist sentiment, the practical consequences are becoming harder to hide. Shelves are thinning in major retailers. Small businesses, dependent on overseas inventory, are unable to fulfill orders. Some have already shuttered. Meanwhile, the president's messaging hasn't changed. He continues to frame his policies as pro-worker, pro-growth, and pro-America. But even inside the administration, concerns are growing. Some advisors fear that Trump has overpromised. Others quietly admit that the president's public optimism is masking a deepening crisis. The tax proposal, while politically strategic, lacks backing in Congress. It would require sweeping legislation, public support, and bipartisan cooperation, none of which appear imminent. Republicans remain divided, while Democrats are already weaponizing the proposal as evidence of fiscal irresponsibility. At the core of all this lies a simple question. Who really pays? Trump says China does, but the data tells another story. Tariffs are paid at the port by American importers. That cost is then passed down the supply chain. The people who ultimately bear the burden? American consumers. So as we approach day 100 of Trump's presidency, the celebration inside the White House is tempered by a growing unease outside it. Americans voted for change, for relief, for stability. What they're feeling now is anything but. The markets are jittery, the dollar's under pressure, small businesses are hesitating, and the American people are holding their breath. They wonder whether this is the future they were promised, and whether it's too late to turn back. In this moment of economic confusion and political calculation, facts matter more than ever. And while the president promises that tax relief is coming, that prosperity is around the corner, millions of Americans are already feeling the squeeze. They don't need another speech. They need results. As uncertainty builds and the stakes rise, the world is watching to see whether America will emerge from this bold experiment stronger, or whether the cost of confrontation will prove too high. And that's why we're here. At Pulse of the World, we break down the headlines, uncover what's real, and bring you the full picture. No noise, no spin, just the truth, clear, direct, and honest. If you found this report helpful, subscribe now to Pulse of the World. Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay one step ahead of the chaos. Until next time, this is Pulse of the World.